How's everybody doing today? It is a wonderful Thursday evening, May the 7th. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm back again on another Thursday Night Live for Reset. And so we are blessed to see everyone here today. And I hope everyone is doing well. I am too. I'm really excited because tonight I will be joined by a good friend, Miss Simone Roberts, and I'll tell you more about her in a little bit. But I just wanted to give you some updates and announcements. Reset Mental Health is a curated series of mental health um, resources, support, encouragement for those like myself who just need a little push through their mental health journey. Throughout this time, we'll be doing interviews, conversations, dialogues about how mental health is going for you. For some people, it's therapy. For some people, it's a support group. For some people, it's just being open enough to share that I need help. So, at this time, I'm going to tell you more about what Reset is. You're going to follow us on Facebook at Reset Your Mental Health Online and on Instagram, Reset Mental Health Online. So those two are pages where you can connect through social media and get more information about what's happening and how things are going. There are also resources for children and adults, so it's not just for children and teens, excuse me. It's not just for adults. So I want you all to be happy and be whole in what you're doing and how you're doing it. So, what does reset mean? What does reset mean? Reset was just something given to mean these five things. So, R for reset means to realign. As we know, we get our cars realigned, and sometimes you just need a realignment in your mind, in your mindset, and the things that you're dealing with. E means examine. Examine those things that you're dealing with, that you're going through, that you're struggling with, that you're having a hard time with. What are your triggers? What's causing you to maybe feel out of whack, right? S is share. This is a big thing that people struggle with. Sometimes people feel like, if I tell you my story, you're going to tell somebody else, and you're going to tell somebody else, and you're going to tell somebody else. But especially during this coronavirus, people have really been sharing their stories. And for those that have shared their stories, now I've shared their stories with them, thank you so much. And then also, E means to explore. Explore different options. Like I said, support group therapy. And most importantly, remember, things take time. So, Simone is here. Hey, Simone. How are you?
You see me?
I can see you. Hey, you look so good. Oh my gosh.
You see this?
So yeah,
I've been busy.
Yeah, she's fancy. That's it. You got to be fancy within these Corona streets. So I was just giving everybody a little bit more information. I'm going to read Simone's bio. We're going to jump right into it. If you have any questions or anything, please put them in the chat. Please share, like, subscribe. I'll also connect you with Simone. Simone is out here doing big things. I'm so excited for her. I remember Simone, a freshman at Temple University. I remember those.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus. And then we're going on 5 years out.
I remember she was at J&H. Woo! Shout out to Temple University, the class of 2020. Thank you for your service to the world. So, Simone Roberts is a recent graduate of the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, where she obtained her MS in Organizational Leadership Development and Leadership. Her undergraduate degree is from Temple University, where she received her BA in Strategic Communications with a concentration in Public Relations. And Simone loves the public.
I don't practice.
Simone has always had a passion for writing and creating stories. At a young age, she began getting her stories and poetry published. She knew it would be a huge part of who she is. In addition to poetry, her greatest love is assisting people in growing to the best version of themselves. In September 2013, She produced her first self-published project, Life Through Her Eyes. Soon after, in January 2014, Simone started her own production company entitled Through Her Eyes Productions, LLC. The mission is to inspire women to share their stories through the arts. Since the birth of the business, she has created various platforms for women to share their stories, including her monthly cafe and workshops, which are awesome. And Simone personally has published 4 books and an interactive journal for teens. She's most recently moved into the realm of coaching and consulting. She is married to the pastor, Daryl Roberts, and the mother to the wonderful, exuberant Hugh Roberts, and she has devoted her life to inspiring women all over the world to tell the story. You can follow her on Instagram as Roberts319 and her Facebook page Through Her Eyes Production. So we want to welcome Simone. Thank you so much, Moni. I appreciate it.
You.
Thank you. I'm so excited for all that you're doing.
Me too.
Yes, you are doing amazing things. So we're going to jump right into it. Get right into it. Simone, tell us a little bit, like, how did you get started with your own mental health journey? Like, what brought you to reset, or what brought you to say, like, mental health is a part of my life that I have to either get better or it's affecting who I am?
So I've been, this, out of all the questions you sent me, this is the one that's been on my mind the most. I'm like, okay, when did it really start?
Okay.
But for me, it's been a start-stop process for so many years because we have so many different things going on in life that it's kind of like we always put ourselves on the back burners because we're so used to taking care of everyone else. But I honestly can say that my mental health journey truly began 6 months into motherhood, and that was the year of 2018. Okay. And it sounds crazy, but that's when my mental health journey really started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give us a look. So what were some of the things? Now, so as I said before, in your bio, you're married to a pastor, right? You've always, you're a church baby. You've always been involved in church, but I'm sure motherhood, being married to a pastor, it is a whole different thing. So what happened during motherhood when you became a mother to Sydney, who is amazing, by the way?
Thank you. Yes, she's been trying to get in here the whole time I've been doing this. But like you said, I am married to a pastor. Prior to being a pastor, he just became a pastor in this past October, but he's been in ministry since we started dating over 10 years ago. So I have always been the person who supported. I have always been the person who, I'm a starter. So I like to start visions and I start things, and I'm also a pusher. So pushing people to go into their best and all of that. And I've always worked with children, so I've always tried to encourage my babies and help them to be the best versions of themselves. But then I became a mother in February of 2018, and it became weird. And I had battled on and off with depression before, but I had truly sunken into depression, and I went through a spell of postpartum. And it was very weird. Everyone knows me. If you follow me on social media, my daughter is everywhere because she is the light of my world. But I don't talk about it as often as I talk about it now, but when it happened, I didn't talk about it. But for the first 6 months, I didn't even want to hold my daughter. And it was crazy because it was just like, I love kids. Like, I've devoted my life to working with kids prior to, I'm a teacher now. And prior to that, I worked with a nonprofit where I work with girls. So my life has always been surrounded around children, but it was like, okay, this one's mine and I don't know what to do with it. And as if you know me, I've always walked around with a smile. I still had a smile on my face. I still was, doing what I need to do, still providing for my daughter, being there for my husband, going to, I was in my second year of grad school amidst all of this. And it was literally, what class? It was my first class back after going on maternity leave. And the class that I took was called Managing Emotional Intelligence. And yeah, listen. And in that class, I realized that, Simone, you are not okay, but it's okay not to be okay.
Yes.
It's okay. And in that class, I'll advocate for my program all day, PCOM's, the ODL program. It really helped me to get in a mindset to become self-aware. Because one of the things I learned in that class is that if you cannot be aware of yourself, you cannot properly manage relationships. And it was just like, oh, wow, because it's like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm here and I'm there, but you're saying that I'm not doing it well. And for me, it was a moment to just kind of step back because I'm always on the go and to really think about what it is that I'm doing and what is it that Simone needs in this moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for being honest. And I know some friends that have shared that they have postpartum depression and how it overtakes your, overtakes you being a mom and the best mom you could be. So thank you for being honest about that.
Absolutely.
And relationships are important. It's a lot of times you just think it's just, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, mother, father, but in all aspects, we're around people all the time, especially when we're out in the public. So thank you. What were some of the resources that helped you during your mental health journey?
So during that time, I got really close to about 5 other ladies, and I like to call them my covenant sisters. And they were not the first, but they were the ones who truly challenged me to go deeper in prayer. Like you said, I am married to a pastor, so prayer is a very important part of my life. And those were some people who were really instrumental in helping me to build my prayer life and challenging me to go even deeper. Of course, my husband has been there through everything. Even when we weren't a thing, he was still there for me. So my husband is my rock through it all. He's always, whatever I need. My family, of course, I call them my community, my 3 sisters and my 3 cousins. We all grew up as sisters. So my community. And then my education, which is, something that was just like, I wanted to go and get my master's because at the time my job told me, but I had no idea that community would become a family to me and help shape who I am today. Going through classes were helping me to retrain my thoughts because I don't know about anybody else, but I'm an overthinker. So having to be able to say that, okay, yes, I'm an overthinker. Yes, I do think negative, but what am I going to do to be proactive to switch it? So putting in practices to be more mindful, to all those different things, like those were the things that really helped me to do it. And of course, reading my work, my Bible and all that all played a part in it.
So I'm glad you said that. This is not my question I had next, but it brings me into, especially those of us who are Christian, those who are religious and follow, different concepts of faith and types of faith, it's always, you need Jesus, you need therapy. The one, it was kind of like Jesus here, therapy here, but more so the conversation has been, no, you need to bring both together simultaneously. So what do you say to that? Now that you and your husband are leading a congregation of people, you're no longer in the pew, you're in the forefront. So what do you say? Yeah, what do you say to your members who, or not even just your members, but just friends overall who are like, no, Jesus is enough.
Yeah. And I've had family who's just like, Simone, like, it's okay, pray about it and go on. And for me, I had to going into this program because it was in the school of psychology, and to really have the conversation with myself to understand that it's okay. God created this to help you to get better. And sometimes we don't like to say that. And I forgot who I was having a conversation with. I was just like, okay, so you don't want me to go therapy to deal with my mental. But what if I tell you not to take your medicine so that your heart would be regulated? Or what if I told you not to do X, Y, and Z? And it was just like, you can't make someone feel bad for what they need to survive. And not saying that God isn't still above my life, but God gave us wisdom.
Yes.
And in that wisdom, you have to realize that, okay, I can talk to my pastor, but I also can talk to a therapist. And it's okay. And knowing that, I'm going to take what this therapist told me, but then I'm going to take it back in prayer and give it back to God. Because that's the biggest thing. It's not that you can't talk to them, but you always have to align and have God as the foundation. And once you do that, then everything aligns. For me, I'm very big on, okay, I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to talk about it and I'm going to pray about it. But I'm not going to, especially in the Black community, we're so used to bottling things up when we don't talk about it. And what stays in our house, that's what happens in our house. It's like, no. And that's why people are committing suicide. And that's why people are getting at the age of 18 and they're leaving the church and never coming back, because we're not talking about these situations, but they're real. And if you don't have someone, because sometimes, and I'm married to a pastor, but sometimes pastoral leadership, they're so involved in all the other things they have to do
right.
to lead the shepherds that they might not be able to deal with all the mental things that needs to be dealt with. And though prayer is the foundation, you still have to be able to talk about these things, because if you can't talk about it, not to say we can't, but who got time to every single Sunday have to be on the floor and we travailing with you because you just won't talk about the situation?
Right. Exactly. You hit it right on the head. And I think sometimes people feel like you're being insensitive, or you don't care because you don't acknowledge what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And luckily for the church that I go to, there is a biblical counseling department. It simply is just calling the church, setting up an appointment, talking to one of the elders who is a part of the ministry, who is one of the counselors. And I admit, right before I got married, I took part of that twice. I just felt like, and that's the thing, like when you're so involved in church and ministry and doing so many different things, it's just like, it weighs on you, you know.
Yeah.
Transition, and then people don't realize, and transitioning into marriage is big. It's something you've never done before. It's all these different expectations and this and that and all, and especially if you're a Christian couple, it's like, whoo, okay, hold on.
Because now you have to, while you're still trying to navigate who you are, now you have to navigate yourself with somebody else. And we don't want to talk about that. But
yes.
And some people they either, okay, we're still be married but deal with me and forget us, or some people are so involved in ourselves and in our spouse that we forget to deal with our own stuff.
Yes.
So,
yes, you are absolutely right. So through Her Eyes Productions, is an organization that is just empowerment, sisterhood, sharing the story. Can you tell me or tell us a little bit more about how Through Her Eyes pushes the mental health agenda and helping others share their story?
Yes. So I went to a performing arts high school. I went to the Philadelphia High School for Performing Arts, and I always had dealt with music and in the church realm, but that was the first time that I saw music and the arts in a different way. And I literally seen time and time again that someone's art form was the thing that saved their life. Because sometimes you can't talk about it because you don't have the right support system. So sometimes you got to dance it out. Sometimes you got to play a song. Sometimes you have to paint a picture. And for me, I realized that, wow, they're not talking about this, but this is bringing so much peace and calmness to their spirits. And for me, it was just like, and even for myself, when I write poetry, it is my opportunity that everything that I've been going through, I can just put it on the paper. And if you read it or not, it's there. And I was able to release it. And for me, when I started Through Her Eyes Productions, I wanted to create a place that people can just release it. Because I remember I was in church one day and I did a poem talk about church people, and they was like, oh, you talk about us on the pulpit. And it was like I didn't feel safe to talk about what was really going on in my life. So I wanted to create a platform that no matter what it is that you're feeling, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling happy, if you're feeling confused, that this is a space that you could come to, that you can be empowered, that you can create, and that you can be motivated to help someone else to do so. When I wrote my first book in 2014, I was 20. I had just turned 20, and I had no idea what was going to come from it. I had no idea that people in their 30s, 40s, 50s were going to come to me and say, I was so inspired that at the age of 20, you're able to share these things that you went through. And it was just like, I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to do that. I realized that everyone isn't an artsy person. Everybody can't get up and do a poem. And that's why I did the book, We Survived It, which Kendria is featured in. And I wanted to just have conversations with people and just let them release that and things that they might have been holding on for so long. I just wanted to create a platform to just be free from it and to be okay with it, and then not even realize that you're going to help so many other people because you were brave enough to share your story.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so that's the part of Reset. The essence of Reset is to share your story. And so what really pushed me to really talk about this and sharing it with my husband, like, this pandemic brought out a lot. I was like, oh my gosh. And then from talking to other people, especially women, who are like going through their home all day, you know, the things that they normally do for self-care, they can't do it. It's not so much about the hair and the nails, but like people are really struggling with life right now. And so like I shared before, like so what I shared before in like one of my other lives was like it was days it was hard for me. Like I had Zoom calls, I had all the things, but I was just like over it. But then after talking to certain women, and it was like, you know what, you got a little bit of strength, I got a little bit of strength. Let's pull each other together and try to get through. And I feel like me finally opening up my mouth, because people always see this, like, no, I'm not okay. And then realizing, like you said before, it's okay not to be okay. And I think we're on the front lines and we're teachers and we're mothers and we're wives and all ministry leaders, all the things, like people have this really high expectation for like okay all the time. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I want to get up at 11 o'clock and
I want to get up at 11. I don't want to make you breakfast. Listen, I don't want to turn these lesson plans in. Listen, it's real.
You don't. And so I think, especially with this pandemic, like people feel really pressured to like do all these things and be productive and write a book and save money. And yes, all that stuff is important. I'm not knocking that, but people feel even more overwhelmed because they can't get out. They can't talk. They don't feel safe, not physically safe, but they don't feel emotionally safe in the places where they live. So it's like, oh my goodness. It's unbelievable, you know, how a lot of people that even I look to and admire were like really going through some like tough times. And so I said, you know, sharing your story is what's going to help you reset.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't take up therapy right now, maybe later on in the year, maybe next week, maybe, you know, you consider and say, you know what, maybe I do need to talk to somebody. And
absolutely.
There are resources out there. I feel like when I started taking biblical counseling at my church, because I'm so active and so involved in my church, and you know, people see me all the time, I'm always doing something, always into something. It was kind of humbling, but then I was also kind of like, whoa, this is at my church. Like, so is the counselor who's an elder, is she gonna judge me? And what it ended up happening was I ended up connecting with this particular elder in like a way where even when it wasn't session, she was like, are you okay? You good? You need anything? And I was like, okay. Whew, I don't feel so bad anymore.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad that you had that. And We Survived It is a book. Tell us more about We Survived It. Yes.
So We Survived It is a book. I don't say that I wrote it. I say that I co-wrote it because it's not just me. We're 25 women share their stories of survival. It's broken into 3 sections: mental, spiritual, and emotional. And I believe that those are 3 areas that women, everyone goes through, but women in general, they go through different battles that they don't share about it. And I wanted to create a place where these women could share their stories, and also provide encouragement for other people who may be going through the same thing, and help these women to realize that you didn't only survive, but you're thriving. The fact that you could come out and tell your story, you're thriving. And it just makes me so happy every time I talk about it to hear so many women, even like Kendria, who she was the first person who I interviewed for the book. And at the time, I don't know if you remember, this is like we're going 5 years since this book went out. But at the time, you were still afraid to share the story. And to just now to see people like you who are now operating what was always there, it's just amazing. And that's what that book is. You get to hear it first if you're on this live. We are in the process of creating We Survived It too. So I am helping some other women to share their stories. Because I just feel like everyone doesn't have a platform. So creating a space for these women to do so, and to share it is so important. And then from We Survived It, I actually realized that a lot of the stuff that we were going through, we talked about it as when we were in our younger years. So it was teenage or that, early 20s age. So from that, I created an interactive journal for those preteens, teens, and early 20s, so that they can talk about these things now. So they don't have to be like us and be 25, 30, 40 dealing with these things, but helping them to deal with that right then and there. So it is a 21-day journal. It's broken into 7 sections to focus on those things that I feel as though it's very important for young girls. So it is on self-love, self-esteem, relationship, realizing the first relationship that you have to have before you talk to any little boy, you have to have with yourself. Yes. It talks about friendship and realizing that in friendship, there's are things that you can control and things you can't, because that was one of the things that I took from We Survived It. A lot of things we went through because we were around in the wrong circle. And that has a lot to do with your mental stability. If you're around people who always talking negative, you're never going to go up. If you're the only person who talk about, all right, I got this vision, and like, no, girl, that's already done, then you're not in the right circle. So trying to help these girls realize that, okay, I need to shift and to shift this around and figure out who it is. And then I put the last day of each week was one of the women sharing their stories from the We Survived the book and their words of advice. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Helping the people. I love it. So you already kind of touched on this, but like you said, what is the importance of sharing your story? Like, for example, when we and you met each other, we were single, we didn't have the marriage, the kids, all things like that. We didn't have the big responsibilities that we have now. But what's the importance for someone who's just like, nobody's gonna listen to me? And I know, and I share this with my husband, that I'm for the people who feel like they aren't heard, who feel like they're understood, who feel like they in the back, always back, because I went through that. So for somebody like that, or even just anybody who's like, you know what, and it's not so much like a platform thing, but just to say, like, I want to share my story. I want to tell something. And I think a lot of times too, we confuse with sharing the story. You're in my business, and so people kind of feel conflicted with trust. So, tell me more. Like, why is that so important to share your story?
I just feel like so many lives are saved when you just share out. And for some people, they're not ready to do a cafe. For some people, they're not ready for a book. But finding someone that you trust, who is, I believe God, you have to pray to God for discernment, and ask God who it is that you need to share your story with, or even your visions, because there's been times in my life where I share my story with someone who I probably shouldn't have shared it with because they told it prematurely. So realizing that even if you're not going to go and do a live, or if you're not going to write a book or any of those other grand things, that it's okay to just find one person to just talk to. That's the biggest thing I feel like we miss sometimes. It's okay to just talk about ourselves, because there's so many different things going on. We have to talk about the latest this, or did you see that meme, or did you see that TikTok, or did you see her graphics, all those different things that we don't talk about what it is that's going on with ourselves. So for me, finding someone that will help you to just release it. That's the first part, to release. And once you release it, I believe that everything else comes in order. Everything else comes in a plan. I'm not gonna get churchy, but like the Bible says, to trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not to thy own understanding, that in all our ways, if we acknowledge him, that he shall direct our paths. So acknowledging him when you feel as though it is time to tell your story, he'll show you who it is that you're supposed to talk to. He'll show you what it is, what you're supposed to do with it. He'll show you if you're supposed to write a book or something. He'll show you if whatever it is that's supposed to come with it. He always shows you when you acknowledge him. And that's the biggest thing right now. And what I think about mental health, especially in the Black community, we acknowledge everybody but God. And we acknowledge what this person's going to say. We acknowledge what this person's going to think. We acknowledge what that person over there is doing, but we never acknowledge what we want, but we never acknowledge what God has for us. And for me, it truly took for me to step back and to take myself out, because when I took that class at PCOM, although we were talking about self-awareness, I had to realize for me to be self-aware, I had to reconnect with him. So being sure that you are grounded in God before you go to anybody. If you're not grounded in God and in yourself, then it doesn't matter. So being sure that you talk to yourself. It might start as simple as sitting in the mirror tonight and be like, hey, Simone, I'm sad. I'm sad. And I need to tell you, Simone, that we are sad. And it could be that small step right there that would just drop the load. Because some people might not be ready to tell anybody. So being able to talk about it and tell yourself, and then see what goes from there as you trust God that he will direct your path.
So Oh my gosh, I'm bubbling up because it's so much, just that small. Like, you know, we're both teachers, and so kids come to us all the time.
Yeah,
and I had to learn how to rephrase how I talk with kids when they share their emotions and their feelings. So, for example, if a kid was, I never forget, it was a child that came to school, and so we greet our kids when they come in at the school I work at, and so give them a hug, high five, all the things. And I noticed a kid who was always upbeat, was like countenance was really sad, really sunken in, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Before it even got 8:00, I'm emailing the social worker, I'm texting the teacher, I'm texting the dean, I'm texting, like, what's going on? And so, you know, I even gave the child a moment. And I think sometimes too with children, we have to realize too that just like we need moments, we need they need it 10 times as much. So the classroom that I have, I say, hey, you come in here, chill for a minute, here's some Play-Doh, here's whatever.
Yeah.
Take the moment that you need. And I feel like sometimes as adults, we need to do that more often. I feel like this shutdown, this pandemic has caused me just to be like, you know what? You don't have to do laundry today. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's your moment. And you know, and so I feel like we are such a goal-oriented you know, and I get that. I'm not knocking productivity and goals, but sometimes we get so caught up in that, you know, that we lose sight of like, you know, and I realized that, and that's where the high blood pressure and the headaches and the stress.
That's where it comes from.
It comes from, because it's like we're rushing to like get these things done, and I'm like, and I get deadlines and I get all the things. I'm not saying don't do things, but we kind of just and what I appreciate even about my own pastor, with him doing Facebook Live, like he shared with us, like how for this is hard for him. My pastor's a social butterfly. He goes out, he's out and about. And he said even for him, you know, having to kind of be withdrawn and be to himself has been hard for him. And I said, for someone like him, who, you know, is a shepherd and been pastoring for 30-something years, I said, if he's going through it, I know other people are going through it too. And the fact that even as a man, he's open and honest to say, I need, you know, I'm pulling on God more and more even through this moment. So I think sometimes, you know, we just need to be focused and realize, like you said, give yourself a talk in the mirror. Listen, you know, and I know for some of my female friends who are really into makeup and their hair and all the things, they're like, listen, even if I don't go nowhere, I'm gonna beat my face to cheer myself up. You know?
I had to buy a shirt because I was getting depressed. I said, let me Nate Jackson, everyone follow him. I was like, oh, I'm getting depressed in here, Jesus. Let me give me a piece. Okay. Let me
it's real.
Yes.
It's real. I feel like the world, they do all the things that make them happy, and you know, other people. But the thing, and I feel like going back to the little things is what makes you happy.
Yes.
Back to little things is what makes you happy. Yes. I know we can't go to the mall. I know we can't go to depression. But I think when we are depressed, when we are sad, we lose sight of the little things. Little things. The little things.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Simone.
No problem.
But before you go,
I
want you to finish this statement for me. How are you resetting your mental health?
I am resetting my mental health by being aware of my feelings, aware of my surroundings, aware of my doubts, aware of my mishaps, and just aware of the God who's going to supply.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Once again, this has been a reset conversation with Miss Simone Roberts. You can follow her at sroberts319. You can also follow her company through Her Eyes Productions LLC on Facebook. This is all that I have tonight. I appreciate everyone who's able to join in. You can connect with Simone even if you want to publish your own book.
Yes, come on, tell a story.
So you can tell your story. You can connect with Simone as well. But one more thing I want you to forget: reset means to realign, examine, share, explore with time. Be gentle with one another. Never stop believing in you, and be the difference. Have a good night. Thank you, Simone.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.